Ryan Barthel. I'm the Senior Director of Podcast Productions. Been with the organization 14 years.
What's it been like, this whole podcasting journey thing?
The easiest way to explain it is a rocket ship in terms of learning curve, right? But not a rocket ship that goes straight up. One that will go straight up and then take a left and take a right, then go back up a little bit. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a learning experience the entire time. But I can say it's, in terms of career, it's one of the most exciting things that I've done.
What's been the most memorable moment that you've had in your 14-year career with Bealls?
I got the opportunity to stand on a stage in front of about 500 people, lead that event in terms of introducing the next speakers or running through the different videos that we're going to see, and giving them the opportunity to laugh was so exciting to me.
Yeah.
But there are ways that we can do better, and we are doing better with it. So
yeah. Cool. So yeah, we figure it out as we go.
There you go.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll get started. So Ryan Barthel, I'm the Senior Director of Podcast Productions. Been with the organization 14 years. I have had the amazing opportunity to work in almost all aspects of the business. So I started in loss prevention back in 2010 out of the Florida Panhandle in what was known as our outlet stores at the time, if that dates me a little bit. And then got the opportunity in 2018 to join the training and development team with store operations. And then moved on into HR systems, and roughly about a year ago, got the opportunity to join you in building and launching and really just going on this whirlwind of a ride.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride.
In terms of the podcasts. But what I'm most excited about is just, again, the opportunity to work in all aspects of the business. And I think those who get that opportunity or want to do that, because not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. But those who do, and those who get the opportunity, I think in the long run, it really helps you understand the business from 50,000 feet and the ability to go down to ground level as well. It just really makes you a well-rounded business individual when you get that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. More grounded, more knowledgeable, more valuable to the company even.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you've had the same pathway, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I spent the first, 10 or so years of my career, maybe 9 or so years of my career, kind of bouncing back and forth between different areas of the business, learning all different types of areas. So yeah,
worked in loss prevention, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's our commonality. Look,
okay. Yeah.
Coming out of loss prevention, and that seems to be a lot of people's stories as well. But a great loss prevention culture over there,
yep.
Which makes sense why so many people work in other parts of the business but start there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, good. Yeah. So what's it been like, this whole podcasting journey thing?
Oh, goodness. When I was preparing for this interview today, I was thinking about the past year and what it's been like. And I think the easiest way to explain it is a rocket ship in terms of learning curve. Right. But not a rocket ship that goes straight up. One that will go straight up and then take a left, then take a right, then go back up a little bit. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a learning experience the entire time. But I can say it's, in terms of career, it's one of the most exciting things that I've done. Simply for the fact that there's no one else in the organization we can reach out to in terms of how do we do this, how do we do that. It's really all self-learning, self-taught, looking at what others are doing and deciding if we want to emulate that or not do that in certain cases. But the fact that there is no concrete, well-defined pathway of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, is exciting. So that unknown sometimes can be chaotic and unnerving for individuals. I kind of lean into a little bit and I kind of get excited about it. So
cool.
The past year has, been a rocket ship, but a fun one to be on, if you will.
Yeah, totally agree. Feel the same way. It's been amazing to get this thing kicked off and started, and it's been fun. It's been fun learning the whole way. I'm with you. I've learned as much as you have throughout this whole process. So and a lot of like you said, a lot of progress. Whether that's trajectory straight up or whatever, and then we make a left turn, we make a right turn, we get back on track, we get back on the rocket ship, and it goes. But I think until you try some of those different paths, you don't really know what's the path that's going to be the most productive and effective.
Oh, absolutely. Everything that we've been doing for the past year is completely new. And for someone who's been in retail for 20 years, worked in various positions in the company, chairman and CEO, you didn't necessarily have any history in this.
Zero.
I had no history in this. And so it's been that excitement factor and stressful at times. I think that's fair to say, of just not knowing everything there is to know and learning and building that toolbox of knowledge as you go. I always see the GIF online. I hope I said that right. GIF. I've heard GIF before.
GIF, but whatever.
Is it GIF? Okay. We'll have to disagree on that one.
Okay.
But of the individual laying the train tracks out in front of the train as it's flying.
I think it's GIF, so I'm not disagreeing with you.
They'll let us know in the comments, I promise.
Right, yeah.
But laying the train tracks as we go. And I have to say that from a legacy side, and even on the Limitless side, our viewers have been helpful in the feedback. Even in things that they see, they make comments, they'll send us messages and hey, try this. Why don't you try this? Or love that, keep doing that. So even our subscribers, our viewers have been on this journey with us and been very supportive in this journey. And that makes you feel good. And even the sense of, when we hear from our recruiting team with CJ or even individuals out in the field, and they're giving us feedback that we had a candidate who watched the legacy videos, got a sense of who they were going to work for, got a sense of the organization, and that was kind of the final catalyst for them to join. That's a good feeling to know that we're able to deliver that through legacy and share these stories of individuals in the company and really highlight our culture, highlight our values, and share those with people who might be joining the organization, who may have been here for a long time. Just being able to get that message out there has truly been exciting.
It has been, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. And one of the side benefits of having this legacy podcast is that recruiting component of it. And I think kind of starting this thing off from my perspective anyway, was kind of like, okay, this is going to be great. We're going to talk to people within the company. People will be able to learn more about the business, both inside the company and outside of the company. And we would be able to just get our names out there and be able to kind of educate people more about how the whole company sort of operates. And like you said, bouncing around different positions teaches you. I think in this conversation, I'm bouncing around with different people in different areas and kind of contributing to that educational factor about how a business operates and runs. And so that kind of going into this was always, I always knew that was going to be a benefit and it would be great for our employees, but I hadn't really considered how impactful it would be from a recruiting standpoint. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really been amazing to a lot of the stories that I hear from the store operations team and from people in corporate that are sharing the values videos and other legacy videos with potential new hires. People are jumping on and we're not having any trouble hiring or filling jobs these days. And I know part of that's the job market, but part of it I think is that we have this tool now where people can really get an inside look at, hey, what's Bealls all about? What are they doing? What kind of a culture is this? What kind of people am I going to work for? And so that's cool. It's a nice benefit.
Well, you look at our history, Matt, and you know better than anyone. Bealls has always done their own thing. We haven't said, okay, this is what you do in retail. We're going to follow that path. That's not Bealls. And when you look around our major competitors in the retail space, nobody else is doing this. Everyone else is highlighting their culture and pushing their culture through posters and quarterly town halls. Not here. We're kind of peeling the onion back and showing people, hey, here's Chris Collins' story. Here's Lisa Sorella's story. And not just their story, but here's what they're working on. So we're going even the step further of sharing with our guests, here's what's going to be in store soon. Here's what we're focusing on. Here's the values, the deals that we're going to be able to provide to you. So just that we talk a lot about transparency being one of our values. This legacy podcast is the transparent value in action. It really and truly is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. What has been for legacy for you, like the most fun part of doing this, of watching the episodes and putting them out? Like, what do you enjoy the most?
What I enjoy the most is, before anyone else in the organization, minus yourself, getting to hear some of the personal stories of some of our leaders. So Chris Collins, basketball scholarship to a college out in Texas. Not many people knew that. I'm 100% certain. Or Dan Doyle, we won't go into whether it was legal or not, but chasing a shoplifter to the top of a hospital. Said shoplifter, have to go watch the episode to get the whole thing. But being able to hear that story from him, or Chrissy Cavanaugh talking about some personal issues that she was having in her life and a conversation she had with her leader. And I'm paraphrasing, but her leader, focus on yourself. Because if you're not focusing on yourself and taking care of yourself, what you're trying to do to the business will never happen. So being able to hear those stories that otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity to, that's been the most exciting part about Legacy for me. And then the other piece of it, when you have Cliff Walters, upcoming guest Conrad Zemansky, when you get to hear stories about your father and your grandfather and how the business came to be. I'm a kind of a history buff and I love nostalgia. So that's right up my alley too, is learning where, how this organization got started and how when other retailers were falling off and having problems, we were continuing forward at a very steady pace and sometimes intense pace as well. So all of that, from the personal stories to how the company got founded and even what we're doing in the future, as I mentioned earlier with the guests, that is just something that Legacy delivers, and I'm the first one to get to see it and kind of edit it and put that picture together, and that's real exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so that's kind of the positive component of it. You mentioned stress and how stress can come into into play. When do you find that is it deadlines? Is it what are kind of some of the times that this can be a challenging job for you?
So what I'll say is, in terms of the podcast, I mean, obviously deadlines are going to be, I think, up there. Because you always want to make sure that you're delivering on a consistent cycle, and that just doesn't have to do with the YouTube algorithm. That's just what people expect. So making sure that we're editing the episode, we're getting the pictures and the videos and things like that. We're really curating it. That is one of the things can add a little bit of pressure. However, do take accountability of my mental state and understand that I'm the only one feeling this, and it's my brain, and I have to step back and observe that. And when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to just, okay, stop for a second, let's think about this, there's that kind of like, okay, we're good now. We're good. Because here's the thing, Matt, we could easily, this episode that you and I are recording right now, we could hit end record and we could have it on YouTube in 5 minutes. But we want to take the time with Legacy and Limitless to make sure that we're curating those episodes, that the audio is good, that the video is good, that it's just not two people talking on a screen. And if someone's talking about, what's coming up in Ladies with Barbie Core or Yellowstone, that we're highlighting that on the screen. So it's an and on Limitless, some of the deep things that we get into, we want to show those infographics. So, we don't want just two people talking on the screen. We want to be educational at the same time. So that added focus on getting those episodes curated and things like that can be stressful. But again, when I take the time to step back and say, hey, this is your brain thinking that's not reality. And let's focus on and let's get it done and we'll move forward.
Yeah, good. So So I guess important to recognize stress comes from within. It's real, of course. I mean, you are feeling the stress, but that when we realize that, okay, I'm creating this. Like I can take 5 deep breaths right now. I can come back to the present moment. My mind doesn't have to take me to the future, which is where the mind takes you when you become stressed.
And it wants to. Oh my goodness, it does.
Yeah.
It almost feels comfortable to be there. And it doesn't make any sense, right? Because your brain's like, I'm in the stress mode. And then, well, why am I there? Wait, why are you in control? And just observing it. And Matt, that is something that here in the last couple of weeks has really come to reality for me. And look, I will share this instance with our viewers, if that's okay with you. We had recorded an LP episode. It was great conversation, great content. We had Sean and Steven. They're going to be on here soon. But we had an audio problem on your mic. And I did everything in my power to try to fix it. AI tools, editing tools, all of that. And I just wasn't able to. And I had the conversation with you that, hey, Matt, we've we have audio problems on this. It's corrupted. I'm not able to resolve it.
How are you feeling going into that conversation?
Stressed as hell.
Yeah.
Just transparently stressed.
Yeah.
But in the moment, what I got to see was the values in action. There wasn't well, why the hell did you do that, Ryan? What the hell is going on? It's like, okay, well, what happened? I explained what happened. Okay, well, we'll just re-record, you know, and then what can we do in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Right.
And then moved on from it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of, like I said, at least for me, you know, you hear companies talk about values and things like that. And they're always business related, right? Take care of the guests, improve sales. That's our values. But here it's about improving yourself as a person. And I got the opportunity to experience that with you, and you were very gracious and things like that, in terms of understanding, you know, what the problem was, what I was going to do to resolve it, and then make sure we don't have it happen again in the future. But it's, again, it was really neat and refreshing to see those values in action, kind of play out in a real life conversation.
Acceptance, I guess, was the value there, and then just kind of, I mean, so I guess you're saying I could have either resisted that situation and created an inner disturbance, and then allowed that inner disturbance to impact you and your mental state, and we do that when we don't practice acceptance, when we're resisting life, and when we don't like the answers that life gives us, and it's like, why? You know, why use all that negativity? Why create all that negativity and put it out there to spread throughout the world? Why not just have acceptance and say, okay, well, this is the situation. We can't change the situation. This is what happened, and you know, that's okay. Like it just is. It's what happened. And so from there, you can move forward. You can figure out, okay, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to remedy this situation? And obviously, the thing to do is to get Ryan and Sean back in the Sean and Steven back in the room, and you know, re-record a fresh episode. And as good as that one was, it's just practice for them. You know, it'll be even better the next time.
And you talk about the negativity and part of that situation too. Not to go into the details of the call, but there's a couple of seconds of silence, and you were contemplating versus reacting. And, you know, any situation that you're in, if your first response, your first reaction is negativity, that does nothing. That doesn't solve anything.
Right.
You know, and even when I had the conversation with Steven and Sean, hey, you guys were amazing. The content was amazing. But I got it wrong. We had a problem. We're going to need to re-record. Here's what I'm doing to fix it. And they were like, okay, cool. Just,
yeah, it's cool.
No problem at all. Like, okay, cool.
Yep.
And, you know, if I am just transparently grateful for the fact that it did happen, especially with a legacy guest, so that we can get them back down here and things like that. But it's, you know, now that I've had the opportunity to be distanced from the situation, now I've learned. And we've already made adjustments in terms of our technology, and actually adjustments that resulted in improvement in our overall experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you look back, you almost have to be grateful for those situations that they occurred, so you had the opportunity to resolve them and improve. But most importantly, just, again, the interaction between you and I, you as a leader, me coming to you with that situation, it was an opportunity to see those values in action, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, cool. I appreciate you sharing that. It seems to me like if I were sitting here 10 months ago when we started this thing, I would have thought that we would have had a lot more issues, you know, like a lot more issues.
Is that okay to say that?
Yeah.
I thought we would have so much more than we did.
Right.
And this was, knock on wood, one of the only major ones that we've had.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. Now, look, we could probably have improved on certain camera angles and lighting and
Sure.
and things like that. But from you as a host, and then, you know, me kind of sitting in the other room, it's been good. It's been really good, and that's just awesome. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, I'm having fun with it and enjoying every moment of it. You know, I think that it wasn't something that I thought that I would have been doing even a year ago, 18 months ago, you know, or it's just, it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's been this great opportunity that's like, okay, you got one rock, you got 5 birds up there. We're kind of hitting them all at the same time, you know. And I practice nonviolence to animals, by the way, but to use a cheesy metaphor, Yeah, it's been amazing. And no, I really appreciate the job that you're doing. And you're handling yourself, obviously, extraordinarily professionally throughout the entire time that we've been doing this, and with very minimal issues, and I think your attitude of kind of going with the flow and having acceptance of all the different changes of direction that have occurred over the last year has been very refreshing from my standpoint, because a lot of times change is difficult because people resist change, and you're just like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's make the change. Okay, it didn't work. We tried it. We thought that might be a good idea. It's not going to be a good. Let's do something else. This font isn't working. That it's like, it's been very refreshing, your approach and your level of acceptance towards the changes that we've made in this podcast. I think to really make it a world-class podcast in a very short period of time. I think that's really the feedback that we're getting in the comments, is like, wow.
And thank you for that, Matt. And I think I know both of us are practicing openness through this, because we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
That sounded really bad, but it's the truth. And
nobody does. That's a good thing. Yeah.
And we were open to the fact of, hey, this didn't work. We're going to try this. It didn't work. Let's go back to this and maybe tweak this a little bit. Can I share the story? Because we've been doing this a year now, a little over a year now. Can I share the story of exactly a year ago and kind of how it all played out?
You don't even have to ask. Yes,
oh,
absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
This is from my perspective. And an email pops up from Matt Bell. And it's, I want to start a podcast. And here's kind of what I'm thinking. Here's some individuals that are great starting points to understand kind of what my vision is. Ryan, start putting something together. Let me know what you need, and let's meet on it. And on Monday, I started working on it. And on Wednesday, I was sitting in your office, and we were going over plans. And then 2 weeks later, I believe, 2 weeks later, we were recording in an off-site location. And then about 2 weeks after that, we had our first on-site. And you go back to that first episode on Legacy with Cliff Walters, Chrissy Cavanaugh.
Right.
Chrissy Cavanaugh.
Right. Yep.
Cliff Walters was second. But you go to that first episode with Chrissy Cavanaugh, you look at our first Limitless guest in studio, Chris Dunn. You look at where we started. We were both so excited just to be doing this and actually we're launching a YouTube channel. We're putting things on Spotify. But just how quickly it came together, and how comfortable in the fact, I keep going back to that neither one of us knew what we were doing, but how comfortable in the fact that we didn't know. Yeah. It's kind of where we want to go. How we're going to get there, we're not entirely sure. And I don't know, I guess I enjoy spaces like that where there's an unknown, there's not a direct pathway forward. You're going to kind of just go with it. And I think that speaks to our, not just this podcast of Legacy or Limitless, that speaks to our overall culture as Bealls. And when you go back to my career path and other people's career paths, you see, as I always call it, that squiggly line of what are you passionate about? What do you want to learn about? What do you want to do in the organization? And if it doesn't line up with your current job, well, we can get you in a different area of the business. Again, not for everybody, but those who want that opportunity, want that pathway, Bealls is the place, unlike so many others, that will give you that opportunity to do that and really kind of define your own career path.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think has been for you the most, I guess from maybe we kind of have to break the two channels apart, Legacy and Limitless here for this question, but for what's been the biggest surprise for you for each of the two channels?
So I'll start with Limitless. Yeah. That's the easy one.
Okay.
Biggest surprise is it's a twofold answer. Number one, the guests that we've had on. And what I mean by that is how willing guests are to come on a show that's so new, and how excited they are to talk to two individuals who may not necessarily be fully versed and educated on what they're sharing, but the fact that we're willing to listen and get excited and have conversations about it, they will share their stories, share their knowledge and things like that. And then just some of the stuff that they share. Yeah. You have to go watch some of the Limitless episodes to understand what I'm saying, but when you do, this will ring in your head and be like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
But again,
been a couple of those. Yeah.
no judgment,
Right,
no judgment within that. So the guests on the Limitless side, as that first part of that answer, that's what's been the biggest surprise.
Just their willingness to like come on and try a new show.
Yes, and their
me too.
openness and kind of what they're sharing and how comfortable they feel in here to say some of the things that they've said, and then just the growth.
Right.
I think we're knocking on the door, if we aren't already, at 11,000
For Limitless, yeah.
for Limitless in a year.
Right.
That's
Subscribers, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
For the legacy side, the biggest surprise for me, I think it lines up with what you said earlier. I always envisioned legacy to be an internal communication tool. Hey, not everybody has the opportunity to sit and have a conversation in the same room with Chris Collins or Dan Doyle or Tian Doyle or Lisa Sorella. So we're going to give them that opportunity. That's what I thought would be the biggest driver when it comes to legacy. But as you mentioned earlier, it's the recruiting side of it. The amount of people that through our LinkedIn page will go in and comment, people that haven't worked here in years. Oh my goodness, I love hearing about Lisa Sorella. I'm so glad she's doing well. That they still have this connection to the organization even after they're gone. And then individuals who are thinking about joining, that they go and they learn about our culture, learn about the people here at Bealls. That's been the biggest surprise to me in terms of the legacy side.
Yeah, agreed with you on both of those statements, and the surprise with people's willingness to come on the show, some big name people's willingness to come on the Limitless show that I have never probably heard of me or even Bealls in a lot of cases. That's been shocking to me too. And I think there's a misconception. I hear it just out there in the comment section. Maybe I've heard it 3 or 4 times, but it stuck with me. And that is, well, you must have paid a lot of money to have them come on your show. And we don't pay money to have our guests come on the show.
No.
So they've been absolutely like, yes, I want to come and I want to tell my story. But it's a great opportunity for someone to come on and know that if they've watched any of the episodes, then they know that there's going to be a host that's actually going to listen to them and that's going to be willing to hear their story. And I think that they know that the guests have been portrayed, in a very fair way and a positive way, and it's not as if there's anything to worry about from a guest standpoint. But yeah, that paying people to come on was something that I always have to reply to those comments because it's not necessary, and it's not something that I don't think any podcast guest really expects to be compensated. It's just a great opportunity for them to come on and share a story in a 2 or 3 hour format that's like. Wow, this will be out there for everybody to see for all time, and I want to do that. It sounds like a great opportunity to come down and meet some new people and spend a little time in Sarasota or Bradenton. So that's been cool.
What I think the formula of that is I won't name any podcasts, but we had Matthew Cox on the show, and he kind of described podcast guests, podcast hosts into 2 categories. Number 1, transactional. We're going to have you come on because you're a big name. We're going to help promote you a little bit. And it's that very transactional relationship. You're here, we record the episode, you're done. Maybe talk to you in the future, goodbye. But then you have those other guests, those other hosts that you form a connection with. Ben Van Kerkwyk, huge name in the Limitless community. Just had him on an episode not too long ago. But the fact of that he's regularly keeping in touch. He did not have to be our first guest. I would almost say, got no subscribers out of it. But he wanted to be in a room with people that took things seriously, that were kind of knowledgeable. And even when we weren't, he was still excited to share it, and we were excited to listen. And we're just not sticking people in a room, putting a microphone in front of them with a light and saying, even though it looked like that in the beginning, that's not our mission. That we're taking this seriously, and we want to hear what they have to say, and we're trying to build those connections within this community, and same with legacy. So I've had the opportunity to hear a lot of things that our viewers, our subscribers haven't heard on legacy. Is when we have the legacy guests come in here, the first thing you say is, "This is not a board meeting. This is not a town hall. This is a conversation between you and I want you to be open. I want you to be comfortable." and we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to try to educate individuals or whatever their goal for coming on the show is. You're very transparent in the beginning of, hey, it's just a conversation. And even, I won't name names, but even when some legacy guests try to over prepare, yeah, we're not doing all that.
Right.
We're not doing, no. Just going to be a conversation because it's not a board meeting, right? Those happen all the time. This is an opportunity for that person on legacy to share their story, to share what their business is doing, and share our values and our culture here at Bealls. And you make that very apparent. That's your goal in the beginning of these legacy episodes. Now, we cut that out of most, but that's something I can share as getting to hear that as the producer.
Yeah. In terms of each of the two podcasts, who has been some of your favorite guests, like your top two maybe from each podcast?
Top two. So I'll start with Legacy first because we're on this channel.
I know it's tough to pick favorites, but it's fun in this case.
I will.
You're good with it.
No. Chris's check cleared before I came in here, so I was able to say no. Dan Doyle was probably my number one on the legacy side.
Okay.
I've known him for quite some time. Known him, knew a little bit about his personal life. Didn't know much about his background. But getting to hear some of his stories about how he hired an individual to fly a helicopter over the field to look for a car. Like what? Why have you had that sitting in your back pocket and never brought that up before? And then also to hear how loss prevention and our business as Bealls has changed over the years. And, what was important 20 years ago isn't necessarily important now. So that was really fascinating to hear Dan tell that story. And then my other most favorite one is George Passajoff. Yep. And it's not because he worked at the circus at Ringling Brothers for 20 years. Is that he was so nervous about coming on the channel and was, right from the beginning, was wanting to do a good job, a little nervous. I wouldn't necessarily say scared, but he wanted to do a good job. Yeah. And then the moment we hit record, he turns into Dan Rather and is just like full complete sentences, no stumbling, firing questions back at you. And you're like, well, all right, George.
I was a little concerned before we started recording, to be honest. Yeah, but he was
and then
amazing.
It was like Walter Cronkite, and that's the news. Yeah. And then as soon as the cameras went off, he was like, how did I do? And I'm like, both you and I are looking at him like,
who are you?
Who are you? And so George was definitely one of my most favorite on the legacy side. Oh boy, now let's go over to Limitless.
Ooh, yeah, we got some options.
It's gonna be tough. So I think easy answer in terms of Limitless is Timothy Hogan.
It's a very easy answer for me.
it's Timothy right up there at the top.
Yeah. And I think the audience is saying that too with the trajectory of that episode's not stopping.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're, obviously people are viewing this on Legacy, go check out Limitless, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and go check out the Timothy Hogan episode. I won't go into the details because you got to go watch it. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the full time, we have clips out there as well. But just some of the things that he shared with us, some that I don't necessarily know. I don't believe anything to 100% similar to yourself. I don't necessarily know if I put any percentage into it, but his story's his. Some things he shared is just absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. And then I would say number two out of all the people that we've talked to on Limitless, I like Brothers of the Serpent.
Cool. Yeah.
Russ and Alan.
Yep. No, Russ, Alan, and Kyle.
Russ, Alan, and Kyle. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Russ and Kyle are just two genuine human beings. It does help a little bit that Russ and I have a sci-fi connection, and both you and Kyle just kind of tune it out a little bit. But they're just
a little bit. Yeah.
I think at one point y'all turned when we were at lunch.
I use the restroom when you start those conversations. I'm out of there.
You give me my space now. I was all right. Let's nerd out for a second.
Yeah.
No, but just two genuine people, yep. and they have some curiosities. They have some questions, and they're going to go out there and try to get them answered. And they're comfortable in the fact that they don't know everything. And then if they thought one thing and they were presented with new evidence, well, then they change their mind. And unfortunately, in some aspects of that community, you don't see that. You see people.
Any community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. people, they make their decision and that's it.
Yep.
They make up their mind, that's it. Yep. Where a lot of the people in the limitless community, when presented with new information, they're going to change their mind. And I think too, that's why the seamless in terms of limitless and even what we're trying to do here at Bealls, we talk about be open to new things. Just because you've been doing something one way doesn't mean you have to continue to do that. If you get presented with new information, be open to it. Change your mind. Be comfortable in changing your mind. Don't feel any shame if you have to change your mind. And you see that a lot in our limitless guests and the limitless community. And I think that's why both of them kind of mesh so well. And even from you and I, how we're able to seamlessly transition from doing a legacy episode and then doing a limitless episode, because we're surrounded by kind of like-minded individuals. So limitless and legacy, obviously two different paths, but so much similarities. And not just from a technology standpoint, just from the fact of kind of what the goal is, what the vision is, and who we're having on the show.
I want to just point out, fantastic job answering these questions. I think people might on the audience think, oh, they've scripted these, or Matt gave Ryan the questions before we started. No, we just walked in and we started talking. So amazing job to be able
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah, no, because I mean, I think I think we both agree that in order for a podcast to be successful, it has to be authentic.
Absolutely.
It can't be scripted. People can't be reading a story or book or notes or whatever it is that they take. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
No.
So no, I just want to point out the fact that I appreciate that you are just walking in here completely, having no idea what I'm going to ask you and just rambling off some incredible answers. What are you most excited about for the next couple of months in terms of guests that are coming onto both the Legacy and the Limitless channels?
So Legacy right off the bat, Conrad Zemansky.
Yeah.
So I believe he was president of Outlets when I first joined. Know nothing about the man. I know he has a long, impactful history with the organization. But again, I've met him in passing. I don't know anything about him. So I'm really excited to kind of learn more about him and learn about his contributions and associations with the family. So I'm really excited about that one. And then we have Karen Beebe coming on. And Karen Beebe, I know a little bit about her story. I know a little bit about, kind of some of the successes and even some of the challenges that technology's had in the last year, especially with CrowdStrike. That was a major impact to us. So kind of learning more about who she is, what her career path is, what's important to her. And then I really want to hear about our organization's response to CrowdStrike, because as I understand it, it was phenomenal.
It was amazing.
Absolutely
amazing.
People were waking up at 3:30 in the morning to jump on the problem. And when most people were still trying to scratch their heads of what they were going to do, we were plans in place, we're moving forward, and hey, we're almost done.
Right.
And very minimal impact to our guests, to our associates. And I think that speaks to Karen's leadership and some of the other leaders in there like Race and Keith Weatherford, but that culture that exists within technology in our organization, that allowed us to respond to CrowdStrike so quickly.
The accident or the incident happened around midnight. We have a loss prevention security guard named Richard Westlake.
Okay.
And Richard was walking the distribution center at 1 a.m. in the morning, and he noticed all of these blue screens all over all the PCs that were in the DC. So he picked up the phone and said, "Hey, something's not right. We gotta, there's an issue, there's a problem here." And he called the technology team. Technology team got out of bed by 3 o'clock in the morning. By 5:15 in the morning, the entire senior team was notified and understood what was going on. Those of us that were awake at that point in time, and
it was in their inbox.
and it got the distribution center and the corporate office up and running for the day. Literally, I mean, Richard Westlake is the reason that we were all able to come to work that day and operate our PCs and have a full day of business.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the entire day. I mean, the stores took that day to get back up online, but every store was ready to be open the next morning. And our competition was not there. They weren't opened on that Saturday morning. They were still struggling with that through the weekend, and for even for a much longer period of time than that. So yeah, it was a great collaborative effort. But the hero of the story is Richard.
So I did not know that. Yeah. I was. This isn't a shock. My fiance works in the technology sphere, and we were both up early that morning, and she's already on her phone, emails. I was like, what is going on? And then I checked the news and I see CrowdStrike. So I just assumed that maybe through osmosis or some sort of alert, within the technology world, that the technology team knew what was going on and they were already fixing it. I had no idea that one individual, again, that speaks to our culture. We're not hierarchical here. And it doesn't matter where you work in the business, you have the opportunity to impact something down the line. And Matt, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, a Ross at TJ Maxx, the LP security guard in the DC is not getting a hold of somebody for 7 to 8 to 10 hours. He picked up the phone, got the team going, and by 5:30, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing to fix it. Keep me updated. Let me know what you need. Yeah. And we're moving on. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. I mean, we have to be, as a smaller business, it doesn't have that capability to write those big orders and to handle the overhead as efficiently as larger companies have. We have to have that connectivity. We have to have that communication and that just all around understanding. Everybody has to feel empowered, has to be empowered to make things like that happen. And I think that was just a great example of kind of just the culture that exists within the building of, hey, see something, say something. Like we want to know. You're not going to be, attacked. You're not going to be like, it's not going to be your fault. You are going to be the hero. Yeah. if you
well, you're on the ground floor. You're closer to the situation than anybody is. So if you see something that doesn't make sense or that we could be doing better, share it. Right. Share it out there with the world. But back to your question, so that would be the two legacy guests would be Conrad and Karen. And then on the Limitless side, if I can share, Jimmy Corsetti, big name in the community, very knowledgeable individual, very intelligent individual. He's going to be joining the show here soon. And I'm going to skip over the one that you thought I was probably going to say. Okay. And I'm going to jump right to, and of course, as soon as I say it, I don't remember his last name, but his name is Jeffrey. And he is a doctor who kind of specializes in death experiences and individuals who have
near-death experiences.
Near-death experiences,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, Jeffrey Long. Yep.
Jeffrey Long. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of fascinated by that, not from a morbid sense. It's just a topic that I'm not very educated in. And I've seen some of his other podcasts, and I'm just really, really curious about kind of his whole situation. And I am intentionally not listening to some of his episodes because I kind of want to hear it in the moment and kind of get that perspective as he's sitting in the room. But again, I get that opportunity where most people don't. But so Jimmy Corsetti and Jeffrey Long, those are two that I'm really excited about coming on the show. Now, the other ones that I won't mention, which you know who they are.
Graham Hancock, I'm going to say it.
I was going to try to keep a secret.
Graham's coming, yeah.
But Graham Hancock, huge name, not just in the community, but just as a whole. Just as a whole, and some of the things that he's contributed to scientifically, and even theories that he has that are becoming more and more true. It seems like every day. Wealth of knowledge, intelligent individual, and for him to take the opportunity to come on our show he's going on podcasts he's on Joe Rogan all the time. Right. And for him to take the opportunity to come on our show, to come on Limitless and have that conversation, that's freaking cool.
It's cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of guests coming up for Limitless that are going to be completely mind-blowing guests. Yeah.
It's going to be a fun ball and Christmas.
We're going to put this Kurt Cobain thing to bed next week, actually. Good, yeah. And so many great guests coming up on both sides of the business. It's going to be great. All right, awesome. Yes, so maybe just shifting away from the podcast just for a quick second. I know that's been your life focus for the last year. Prior to that, you've had a tremendous 14-year career with us. What's been the most memorable moment that you've had in your 14-year career with Bealls?
So most memorable moment, I'm going to give two answers because I always go overboard with certain things. But number one, surprisingly, which would probably make a lot of people uncomfortable, if we go back to 2019, it was a time when Outlet and BSI, Bell Stores, and corporate, they all kind of had their own separate annual awards events. And Outlet happened to be at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. And I got the opportunity to be the MC for that awards event. I got the opportunity to stand on a stage in front of about 500 people and lead that event in terms of introducing the next speakers or running through the different videos that we're going to see and giving them the opportunity to laugh. And that's kind of a closet dream of mine, is to do stand-up comedy. I just haven't, got the, I haven't taken the opportunity to go do it in real life, but that was kind of my semi-opportunity. And it was so much fun. And, going back to my earlier comment when I said that we're not hierarchical, I was the training and development manager, given the opportunity to lead an annual awards event for our outlet business and in front of 500 people. That's not happening at any other organization. I got to plan it, got to be a part of it, got to lead it, the day of the ceremony. So, that moment will always hold a very special place in my heart personally, because again, that opportunity to stand in front of a room full of people, which most people don't like. I do, oddly enough. Mm-hmm. Public speaking kind of gets me excited. But to be given that opportunity by senior leadership, and you were there at the time as president of Bealls Stores, so just given that opportunity was so exciting to me.
Nice.
And then the second one, kind of a little bit more business related, was COVID. COVID happens. We start closing down stores as we were required to, and for the safety of our associates and our corporate offices, and for the safety of those corporate office associates. But I got a call from Chris Collins and got tasked with really learning the stay-at-home orders for each one of the states that we operated in, when those were going to expire, and kind of all the details for that. And that quickly morphed into being responsible for all of the states that we operated in, knowing when those stay-at-home orders were going to be lifted, and the requirements that we had to follow to reopen our business. And at one point, I was texting yourself every morning, and the president of Outlets and Bealls Florida at the time, and just given that responsibility, that trust, that the direction that you're giving us, from its capacity levels to social distancing to reporting requirements, whatever that might be, just being given that trust to lead that for the organization, that's something that, again, is extremely memorable to me. And I don't give many guarantees in life. I guarantee you're not going to get that opportunity in another organization, hands down. And it goes back to what you said earlier. We're a small organization, so we're extremely nimble. We opened up safely light years before our competition did. And it's because we put trust in people to do a job. And it's not your title. It's not your rank. It's your rank. It's not your title. It's, are you the person that can best do the job? We're going to give you that responsibility, and we're going to move forward. And so those two things, wildly different stories, but just two instances right off of the bat that hold a memorable place in my heart. And I'm going to sneak a third one in there. I did meet my fiance here, so I have to say that.
Cool. Yeah. Smart. Yeah.
I couldn't get away without saying that.
Right. Yep. Good. Maybe my final question for you would be, is there a person that is a part of our key to success here that is maybe a bit unrecognized or flying under the radar?
Yes, and it's Joe Tatiano, hands down. So I get the opportunity to be involved with the guests. You obviously do as the host. I'm editing the episodes, you're leading the episodes, we're putting things on YouTube. But there is this huge piece of both Legacy and Limitless that happens behind the scenes that would never allow us to be sitting here or be, having guests in studio and talking like that. And it's all the things that Joe does. From reaching out to them, to organizing flights, to organizing dinner, to hotels. Each time that we have a guest in here, we try to get lunch if we can, if the schedule allows it. And Joe has everything set up for us, so we don't have to think about it. So I will go ahead and say it. I know for a fact that the experience that our guests have, whether it's Legacy or Limitless, would not be the same without the contributions that Joe has done so far. and will continue to do. And again, she's not front facing or anything like that, but the tremendous amount of work she does behind the scenes is it's amazing. It really is.
So true. So true. Yeah, she's amazing. And I would not be able to do my job. I would not be able to do these podcasts if it wasn't for Joe. Like if it wasn't, like I wouldn't be able to take on additional responsibility if it wasn't. I have 8 direct reports right now, including you. She picked up marketing, picked up exclusive brands, and podcasting is now just one of the things, and it can be one of the things because of how much Joe gets done. And just for me, from a professional standpoint, and just handles all of the things for me. And it's amazing. I can't say enough great things about Joe. She really is one of the secret weapons within the organization. Yes. And I am completely comfortable putting that out there into YouTube land because I know Joe is very happy, and she's yeah, she is the epitome of what a top-notch executive assistant looks like. I mean, she's always positive, always open, always receptive, always accepting, and just gets stuff done. Mm-hmm. Like
if you don't know, go to Joe. That's kind of the philosophy that I've lived under. Right. Because it's like, well, I don't know about that one. Joe will know. Right. You know, or she'll hold me to task if like you know that. Oh yeah, I do. So. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. What did we miss? I don't think we missed anything, Matt. Okay. I think this has been feels like we've been in here for 5 minutes. But I know. I want to say it's been like an hour and a half that has flown by. Yeah. It's been an hour 10 anyway, but it feels like 15 minutes. Yeah. This is, it's been fun sitting on this side of the door, if you will. Little awkward setting up cameras for yourself in the beginning, I think. But it's been fun to kind of share the behind the scenes and what this past year has been like, and an opportunity for me to talk about my experience here at Bealls and the culture and the values that we have. And then, obviously what it's been like working, interacting with you for the past year and what this journey through podcasting land has been. So I've really appreciative of you allowing me to kind of come on out of the shadows of producing, if you will. But again, really appreciate it. Awesome. Good stuff, man. Let's wrap it up. Let's close it out. Yeah, good. Appreciate it, Ryan. Yep.